Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. How are you today? Today, I am here with Daniel, and today we are going to talk about 10 grammar rules you think are wrong, but are actually correct.
Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be here today. This is going to be a fun lesson because English has many surprising grammar rules.
That's true. Sometimes a sentence sounds strange, but it is actually correct.
And sometimes a sentence sounds correct, but it isn't.
Today, we'll look at 10 grammar rules that confuse many English learners. Don't worry if you've made these mistakes before. Many native speakers make them too. We'll explain each rule with simple examples. That way, you can remember the rules more easily. Let's begin with our first grammar rule.
Rule number 1 is you can start a sentence with and.
Many students think this is wrong because they learned not to do it in school.
But in modern English, especially in conversations and everyday writing, it's perfectly correct.
For example, I wanted to go for a walk, and it started to rain.
Starting with and can make your speech sound natural and smooth.
So don't be afraid to begin a sentence with and when it sounds natural.
Great! Let's move on to grammar rule number 2. Rule number 2 is you can end a sentence with a preposition. Many learners think every preposition must come before its object. But in everyday English, ending with a preposition is completely natural. For example, who are you talking to? Another example is, what are you looking for? These sentences sound much more natural than the formal versions. Native speakers use this grammar rule all the time in conversations. Now let's look at grammar rule number 3. Rule number 3 is you can use because at the beginning of a sentence. Some students think a sentence should never start with because. But that's not true. It is correct if the sentence is complete. For example, because it was raining, we stayed at home. That's a complete sentence, so the grammar is correct. These 2 grammar rules make your English sound more natural and more like a native speaker. Welcome back. Let's continue with grammar rule number 4. Rule number 4 is you can split an infinitive. Many learners hear that you should never put a word between to and a verb. But that's actually a myth. In modern English, it's often correct. For example, she decided to carefully explain the lesson. Another famous example is to boldly go where no one has gone before. Sometimes splitting the infinitive makes the sentence sound clearer and more natural. So don't worry if you see it in books, movies, or everyday conversations. Now, let's move to grammar rule number 5. Rule number 5 is they can refer to one person. Many students think they is only for 2 or more people. But we often use they when we don't know if the person is a man or a woman. For example, someone left their bag. I hope they come back for it. This grammar is very common in modern English and sounds completely natural. Great. You've now learned 5 grammar rules that many people mistakenly think are incorrect. Welcome back. It's time for grammar rule number 6. Rule number 6 is you can use who after than. Many learners are confused by sentences like, she is taller than I am, and she is taller than me. Here's the good news. Both can be correct. In formal English, people often say, she is taller than I am. In everyday conversation, native speakers usually say, she is taller than me. So don't be surprised if you hear both versions. The important thing is to understand the situation and choose the style that fits. Now, let's move on to grammar rule number 7. Rule number 7 is double negatives are not always wrong. Wait, I thought double negatives were always incorrect. In standard English, we usually avoid them. For example, I don't know anything is preferred over I don't know nothing. But in some regional dialects and informal speech, people do use double negatives naturally. That's right. You'll hear them in songs, movies, and everyday conversations, even though they're not considered standard grammar. Understanding these grammar rules will help you understand real English, both formal
and informal.
Welcome back. Let's continue with grammar rule number 8. Rule number 8 is you can use less with countable nouns in everyday English. I thought we should always say fewer with things we can count. That's the traditional grammar rule. For example, fewer people came to the meeting. So why do we often hear less instead? Because in everyday English, many native speakers say things like less than 10 minutes or less people were there today. So fewer is more formal, but less is common in daily conversation. Exactly. Understanding both forms will help you understand real English. Now let's learn grammar rule number 9. Rule number 9 is it's okay to use contractions in writing. Some learners think contractions like I'm, don't, and it's are incorrect. But they're completely correct in emails, messages, blogs, and most everyday writing. For example, I'm happy you're here sounds natural and friendly. Only very formal writing, such as some academic papers or legal documents, usually avoids contractions. Great! You've now learned 9 grammar rules that will make your English sound more natural and confident. Welcome back! It's time for our final grammar rule. Rule number 10 is you can use hopefully to express a hope. Some people think hopefully should only describe how someone does something. For example, she looked at me hopefully. That sentence is correct. But many learners are surprised that we can also say, hopefully it won't rain tomorrow. Yes, in modern English, that's completely correct and very common. Native speakers use hopefully at the beginning of a sentence every day. So don't be afraid to use it in your conversations. Let's quickly review all 10 grammar rules we learned today. You can start a sentence with and or because when the sentence is complete. You can end a sentence with a preposition, split an infinitive, and use they for one person. We also learned that some formal and informal grammar rules are both acceptable, depending on the situation. The more you read, listen, and practice, the more natural these grammar rules will become. Remember, don't just memorize grammar, use it in real conversations. That's the fastest way to improve your English. Daniel, we've learned all 10 grammar rules. Now let's practice them with some simple examples.
Great idea. Practice is the best way to remember grammar.
I'll say a sentence, and you can tell us why it's correct.
Sounds good. Let's begin.
And then we went home. That's correct because it's okay to start a sentence with and. Here's another one. What are you waiting for? That's correct because English often ends a sentence with a preposition. How about this? Because I was tired, I went to bed early. That's a complete sentence, so starting with because is perfectly correct. Now listen to this. Someone forgot their umbrella. That's correct because there can refer to one person when we don't know who the person is. The more examples you hear, the easier these grammar rules become. Exactly. Grammar isn't just about memorizing rules, it's about using them naturally. Let's continue with a few more examples in our next session.
Daniel, now that we've learned these grammar rules, what mistakes should learners avoid? The biggest mistake is believing every grammar myth they hear. That's true. Some old grammar rules are much stricter than modern English. Exactly. English changes over time, and everyday English is often more flexible. Another mistake is being afraid to speak because of grammar. I agree. Communication is more important than perfect grammar. If you make a small grammar mistake, don't stop speaking. Keep talking, keep listening, and keep learning from your mistakes. Reading books and listening to native speakers also helps. Yes, you'll naturally notice how grammar is used in real conversations. Don't memorize rules without using them. Instead, make your own example sentences and practice them every day. We have a question for our listeners. Which grammar rules surprised you the most today? Tell us in the comments below. The more you practice real English, the more confident you'll become with grammar. Daniel, before we finish, let's share some simple grammar tips for our listeners. Great idea. My first tip is to read English every day, even if it's only for 10 minutes. Reading helps you see grammar used naturally in real sentences. My second tip is to listen to English podcasts and repeat the sentences aloud. That improves both your grammar and your pronunciation. Another helpful tip is to keep a small notebook for new grammar rules. Write one rule and one example sentence each day. Don't try to learn too many grammar rules at once. Learn one rule, practice it, and then move to the next one. Making mistakes is completely normal. Every mistake helps you improve. We have one final question for our listeners. Which grammar rule surprised you the most today? Please tell us in the comments below. If you enjoyed this lesson, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Share this lesson with a friend who is learning English too. Keep practicing every day, and soon these grammar rules will become a natural part of your English. Daniel, today we learned that some grammar rules are very different from what many people believe. That's right. English grammar is full of interesting surprises. We discovered that some sentences may sound unusual, but they are actually correct. And we also learned that grammar can change over time, especially in everyday English. The most important thing is to understand the rules and know when to use them. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Every mistake helps you become a better English speaker. Read English books, listen to podcasts, and practice speaking every day. The more you use English, the more natural these grammar rules will feel. Remember, learning grammar is not about memorizing every rule. It's about communicating clearly and confidently with other people. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed learning these 10 surprising grammar rules with us. If this lesson helped you, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with your friends. Keep practicing, keep speaking English, and never stop learning. Goodbye, everyone. We'll see you in the next Easy English podcast.